Yo, what is up everyone? Back here with another video. In today's video, we're going to be going over the biggest Pokemon tournament in history that happened this previous weekend. And we're going to be talking about all of the teams and, the different results, impacts on the metagame, and talking about, what's next in terms of competitive Pokemon. So, basically, we had this regional, San Diego Regionals, biggest Pokemon tournament in history. And what I wanted to do is go through the teams and talk about why they were good, what they really did well in the metagame, and how the metagame fared comparatively to necessarily what we were expecting, right? Now, a couple of things to keep in mind is that a lot of teams that were successful weren't necessarily as public before the tournament. Rain apparently was actually really notable before the tournament, but if you look besides Rain kind of having a big overtake in terms of how well it did, a lot of the teams that you would normally expect were kind of in the top 64ish. Murkrow completely whiffed most of Topka, which is crazy because of how much usage it had. It had I think 30-40% usage or something ridiculous. Maybe a little bit lower, and I'm overselling it, but yeah, all the Murkrows were not here, and even me, I was in top 64 instead of in Top Cut, and granted mine I think was a little bit of bad luck, but also too it just shows you that Murkrow's maybe not as strong in the metagame as everyone thought it was. But yeah, so I think honestly we might see a bit more Murkrow disrespect coming into the next tournament in Liverpool. But G-Sock did end up winning the whole tournament, and he did really well. His team list to go over, which I thought was really interesting, was the 6 Pokemon Garganacl with Terra Poison and just a Salt Cure solo attack set with Recover, Wide Guard, Protect. Very supportive Garganacl. Mimikyu with Life Orb, Meowscarada with Sash, Specskull Dingo, Paldean Tauros, and then you had Baxcalibur. Now, what I found really interesting about this team was just the fact that it was a very straightforward team. There wasn't actually it wasn't super complex, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because especially an open sheet, that's fine as long as you have tools to outplay your opponent. And also too, as long as you're, piloting it properly, you should be fine. Also too, I read a Twitter post about this, and I think it's very true. What was strong about Maluka's team was just that there were so many options to cover for any board state that you're always in a good position. So for example, Tailwind, right? You have Wide Guard, you have multiple priority moves. You actually have 4 priority moves on the team, right? You have strong damage output with Meowscarada Goldango lead. You have strong damage output with Baxcalibur. Everything on this team is doing damage in its own way. And then you still have your all your mons being bulky enough where they can absorb hits. And that combination of factors is actually really cool. And I think that's overall what made the team very strong, right? It was just a consistent, well-rounded team. I do think in finals that Choppa probably had a bit of matchup advantage. It's just that Maluka outplayed him and kind of was able to outposition a little bit there. Then we have Choppa's team. So Choppa's team was another team I wanted to talk about. Choppa ended up obviously, performing super, super well with the team. It was actually using Palmet as well. Palmet has actually had some really high tier performances. So it's actually really interesting to see that. Now, what I found to be most interesting about his team was the Resto Chesto Dondozo. I think the Terra Dragon order up obviously put in a lot of work. It did hurt in the finals because, Intimidate Spam was actually really effective into the team. And it wasn't like a Terra Blast flying where you're just able to snipe, a KO. That being said, though, the overall structure of the team seemed very strong and it seemed super useful as a whole into a lot of teams. And I do think that overall this team had a lot of useful tools that it could take advantage of, and I think that it's a very, very good application of a Dondozo team, right? It's probably one of the better ones in the metagame. I did find it really interesting to see that the Tatsugiri was also Terra Water. I feel like Terra Dragon and then no Soak with Dragon Pulse is something that seems more common now, because Soak isn't really as useful as people thought early on, but if you're running Soak, right, it does pair well with the Palmet and the Meowscarada, because you can maybe Soak plus Flower Trick or Soak plus, Double Shock, and it makes it tougher on your opponent. So I could see the utility of Soak, right? Overall, this team is just a very standard safe Dondozo team, and Choppa's one of those players who performs really well when he's practiced with an archetype that's very consistent. So it doesn't surprise me that he was able to get a higher placement with this style of team. Just it's a team that rewards knowing your lines and having a lot of practice, right? And then in our top four, and this was the other notable team I wanted to talk about, we had Jody's team. So Jody was using the Rain team. Now this was really brought by like the whole group of like, Smogon, and they call, obviously, like the group is called Tub as well. Tub, Smogon, whatever. Their entire group did end up bringing some variation of Rain. You can literally actually see that in the standings. So over here, Jody with the 9-1 record, getting top four. Then over here, there's another one, 9th place. And there's another one here. This was, he wasn't part of their group, but he was running Rain. And then continuing down, let's see, there should be more here. Another one here, although I don't know if that was actually part of their group or if it was just like he kind of came to his own conclusion. I'm looking for the Tauros versions because I know there are Tauros Rain versions. I'm definitely just whiffing them. Oh yeah, here we go. Okay, yeah, Angel. And then I believe there's like one more in the top cut. There's also like another form of Rain. Like Rain just performed super well this tournament anyways, but I was focusing more so on like the building group itself. Just because it was worth noting that so many people brought the same thing. Yeah, I don't see another, but I'm sure that I'm missing one. Obviously, Adi also had it as well. And then Sohai whiffing cut, but had the same style of team. And then you continue down. I'm sure you'll see like one or two more Rain, but what's the takeaway from this tournament, right? So takeaway from this tournament, I think, is Rain is very strong. I think that Dondozo is very strong. And I think the balance Baxcalibur stuff is pretty strong as well. I think that Maluka did player diff a little bit in cut as well. So like he did kind of like outskill a lot of his opponents. And then within top 8, you see some other outliers. You do see a very similar team coming out from Giovanni over here. I think the only change was Expert Belt on Baxcalibur and the trick on the Goldango, which doesn't really change the team that much. It was also Mystic Water Tauros. I was really interested to see no one use Mirror Herb because Mirror Herb seemed like it would have been good. Also, it was Terra Grassland Garganical. Terra Poison probably would have helped more. Then there was James' team. James is a funny dude, man. He always runs like teams that just like work for him and like work for no one else. I found the Mirror Herb Tauros though very effective. I think that that's something that should be implemented more on teams. And also too, like, the Hail mode obviously is very safe. You have the Gothitelle to exert control over the game. So it seemed like a very strong team. I think that the concept of trapping things in with Gothitelle and then having Weather, having Intimidate, and having, a Specs Rotom is really strong in general. So it's not surprising that this did well. And then, obviously you have, some other teams kind of lying around. Geo's team I also thought was really interesting because it had a double up on the fire type, and it was also running Wide Lens Talon, although we did actually see the Will-O-Wisp miss on stream. So I thought that was really funny. And then also too, right, the band Dragonite trapping in with Gothitelle. It does seem that Gothitelle is actually a really strong concept in this format. It's something that should probably be explored a bit more. So I'm very interested to see the progression here. And also too, it's worth noting, Emilio also did bring Dondozo. He had a very different version though compared to Choppa's. His was a bit more offensive. Also, too, the Dondozo was Terra Flying, which also completely changes like how the team matches up into a lot of different things. So, obviously that's pretty, that really changes up your matchups a bit. I think he actually had a really good matchup in the GSOC in comparison to Choppa because, GSOC's team into his team is like a little bit weaker. But yeah, overall, I think that across the entire tournament, I think that it showed a lot about the format, that the format has a lot of flexibility. You can use a lot of different things. There are obviously some beats that keep getting hit by a lot of these like popular teams in terms of like what they're doing well and what they're not doing well. I think that realistically, the teams that offer the most flexibility or the most variety of options are the ones that are succeeding the best. Like, I mean, you have like so many different modes within these top 3 teams over here that you can utilize. And even in Aaron's team down here, right? Like, you have the Dreadnought Rain mode, then you have the Trick Room mode with like Hariyama for a Giraffe King Gambit, and then obviously you can just do like Dreadnought Pelipper, clean up Meowscarada, clean up King Gambit, right? There are just a lot of different options there, and I think that it's really interesting just to see like how that is really progressing, I am really, really happy that we did see quite a variety of teams because I think it really opens up the format a lot for more exploration. I'm very excited to see Liverpool, which is going to be the biggest European tournament. I don't know if in history, but it's going to be like a pretty big one. It's comparable to the size of San Diego, so it's going to be really cool. I'll be there. I'll be competing, so it'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this meta review, San Diego review, whatever. We're gonna be putting out a couple more videos before Liverpool regionals, mostly just either talking about like Pokemon I think are really strong, or highlighting certain teams that I think are going to be particularly good into the final stages of this metagame. Obviously we have series 2 coming up, so there will be some videos on that as well. If you guys enjoyed the content, please be sure check out the Patreon, check out coaching, everything else down below. Thank you guys for the support on the videos, and I'll see you guys next one. Peace.